June 13th, 2017 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I am requesting everyone in the audience please turn off your electronic devices or put them on silence. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the front table. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1. Here. Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Ms. Angie Boynton, District 4.
Here.
Ms. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Ms. Suzanne Green, Interim Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin Christian, Public Relations Officer and TV Media Productions Coordinator, please introduce the students who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in the pledge this evening.
I have a treat for you, school board members and superintendent.
All right.
We have 3 graduates. Let me tell you their story. Over the last 13 years, we have had 2,340 days of school, give or take a couple for hurricanes. And for every one of those 2,300 and plus days, let's say 2,340, these 3 graduates of Marion County Public Schools were in class every single day. Carly Cook, Logan Feger, and Aaron Gerald all graduated with the highest attendance rate for the class of 2017 in Marion County Public Schools, not missing a single day of class during 13 years of school. Remember, kindergarten. That's 100% attendance, 2,340 out of 2,340 days of class. So I know you want to meet them, so I'm going to ask them to come up. Carly Cook first. Carly? She graduated from Forest High School in 2004. Carly enrolled as a kindergarten student at Dr. N.H. Jones Elementary and advanced to Howard Middle School and then, of course, Forest High School. Carly plans to major in business at the University of North Florida. Is that correct? Okay. This 17-year-old is the daughter of Carrie Cook and Donna Cook, both of whom work for our school district. I think Mom is here tonight. Next, we have Logan Feger. And please, if I'm mispronouncing your names, please correct me. Logan graduated also from Forest High School. He enrolled in kindergarten in 2004 at Madison Street Academy. He also attended Howard Middle School and advanced to Forest High School. Logan plans to study architecture and construction engineering at the College of Central Florida and then move on to the University of Central Florida, which, as you know, is the largest university in our state. The 17-year-old is the son of David and Alicia Feger of Ocala. Last but not least, we have Mr. Aaron Gerald. He graduated from Vanguard High School. He started in 2004 as a kindergarten student at Maplewood Elementary and then attended Osceola Middle before advancing to Vanguard. He is 18 years old and plans to study pre-med at the University of Central Florida, and he is the son of Adam and Linda Gerald of Ocala. Now, in addition to these 3, we also had 18 students graduate this year who never missed a single day of high school. So that in and of itself is an accomplishment, but let alone 13 years combined right here. Now, I choose for these 3 students to be your inspiration tonight. I don't think they have to say anything. Their actions have certainly inspired all of us to reach higher and achieve higher and show up for work, show up for class, do what you're supposed to do what's expected of you. Each of you has graciously signed a certificate that is but a small token of appreciation. But I would like to read it. They all 3 say the same thing. Each of your names is listed, and it says Marion County Public Schools. For exemplary dedication to education, the Marion County School Board proudly recognizes each of you throughout your entire public school career. You never missed a day of class while attending Marion County Public Schools. Thank you, and Mom and Dad, because we know you were behind it too, for your perseverance, which has certainly contributed in a real way to your success and to that of Marion County Public Schools. And our board members and superintendent have each signed and dated this. So Carly, let me present that to you. Logan, to you. And Aaron, to you as well. So board members, I'm sure you have something to say to these amazing individuals.
Most definitely. Ms. McCall.
How did you do that? I mean, that is just, that's amazing. Congratulations. That will carry through to your work ethic when you move into the workforce. And so thank you for staying so focused in our school system. Congratulations.
Ms. Stacy.
You are walking, living proof that attendance matters. We put attendance matters. We've had all kinds of slogans that we've put together. And your face is on a billboard. Attendance matters because you are all three set, ready, go for success. Thank you.
Mr. James.
It's always amazing when I look at the young people that have done the right thing, come to school, worked hard, and behave. And I look at Ms. Cook sitting there, and I remember her when she was a baby. And it's one of the things, and she may not remember you at Dunellen and so forth, but one of the things that we said, if you come to school, work hard, and behave, good things will happen. And it's still true today. And for all of you guys that's standing out there today, just remember that whatever you do, if you come to work hard, and behave. And if you're properly placed, good things happen. And I want to congratulate you guys for making that little motto come true for me. Thank you. Good job.
Ms. Boynton.
I can only say I'm proud of you and thank you all for what you've done. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. My first thought was like Ms. McCall. I was like, how'd you do that? And then Ms. Stacy said attendance matters. But as I look out, attendance does matter, but parents matter also. You guys are graduated, and every set of parents, and I even think I may see grandparents even in here that have supported you guys, and that is magnificent. And I am confident in any field that you choose, you guys are going to be there because you're going to show up, and you guys have endurance and stamina, and that's just, just get there, and the rest is easy for you guys, I'm sure. So congratulations, enjoy your summer, and best of wishes in your new endeavors. Okay.
I'll also ask this trio of successful graduates to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, yes.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's amazing. Thank you. Dr. Mayor.
With the exception of JD 17-120 under item 28.2, which has been withdrawn entirely, I recommend approval of the agenda for the June 13th, 2017 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall and seconded by Ms. Boynton.
I got in ahead of time, so I think I get to manipulate
To
it.
do it. Yeah, I'm going to explain, our board docs is down this evening, so we're going to have to just wing it. So if it seems a little off, it is. So, okay. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, and the motion passed 5-0. I think we're going to go through fast tonight.
Well, but I have to see if I can save this. I'm just seeing if it will show up if I do it.
Yes, all right, the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 20th, 2017 administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Boynton. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay. And safe. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 25th, 2017 school board meeting?
Second. I move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Boynton, seconded by Mr. James. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the May 4th, 2017 administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Boynton. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I hit the wrong button.
And the motion passed 5-0. Mr. Christian would also like to recognize a special volunteer for our elementary school's Career Day.
Good evening again. This gentleman standing next to me is not only a volunteer, he's an employee of ours and has been for 29 years this coming August. Let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Mike Mills. The entire time he served as a pest control technician, certified beekeeper, presenter and protector of the insect world, and a whole lot more. Mike's beekeeping career started years ago when honeybees were protected and required a certified beekeeper to relocate them if they interfered with school activities on our campuses. Mr. Mills figured he could do so why not become a certified beekeeper? That's exactly what he did. Today, Mr. Mills considers himself a sideline beekeeper, and I'm going to use that in quotes because I think it's more than sideline, though he has relocated upwards of 20 hives over the years. None this year, fortunately. He also has plenty of hives at home and trades bees with other keepers across the state. Mr. Mills also smoked out hundreds of nests on our campuses when it came to those other stinging insects, yellow jackets, mud daubers, wasps. You kind of get the idea there. Those are often found in high corners, under portable classrooms, and other areas out of students' reach, but certainly could be within students' harm. Honeybees are Mr. Mills' specialty, and he started sharing his interesting trade with our students at Romeo Elementary School for their career day. And since then, he's shared with other students at other schools, including Dunellen and Spar Elementary. Despite his work with honeybees for nearly 3 decades, Mr. Mills has never found a way to truly enjoy blueberry honey. And I'm going to let you ask the question why, if the buzz intrigues you.
Why?
Dr. Ham, I hope I'm make you proud with that.
Why?
We just thought that you might like to meet some of our employees who are in the field and on the scenes every day who may not get the chance to run into you in your pathway when you visit schools. So we started off with Mr. Mills and thought he would be a great stinger for us. So any questions for Mr. Mills? Come this way.
Oh, any,
Somebody has to bite on that question.
Why don't you like blueberry honey?
Not to make it too long, I pollinate blueberries with my bees. I take my bees and pollinate blueberries, and I've never produced. Kevin asked me about blueberry honey, and I said, to my knowledge, I've never personally produced any honey from blueberries. They pay me to pollinate blueberries, but they don't actually produce a nectar that, where I could produce honey.
Okay.
So if you've had blueberry honey, it's not real blueberry.
Right. I've seen it, and it's blue, and that wouldn't be the case. Someone's put dye in it.
Thank you for all you do.
Mike, I just want to say, we go back a long way.
Yes, sir.
And we done had a lot of, by the way, I did get my honey this year. when you see Michelle and the rest of the family, I know how much time you put into this and how many years that you have been working with the young people in that particular area. And I know
It's a joy.
it is one of these things where he moved the bees from various parts of the state to help pollinate the various industries. But it's not only something that he do, he really enjoy what he do. And I want to commend you and your family. Because when, I have to say, when we were working at the Boys and Girls Club, I know Michelle worked real hard to make this thing happen up there. And she did present the bees and what you all do.
Yes,
And
sir.
I,
It's a
on behalf of
family-
all of our
family
kids, and on behalf of all the kids that you've touched out there, we want to thank you for that time and what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with the bees, and I actually even learned a little bit today, and I just am going to end it on, I'm glad that you belong to Marion County, or you work with us, schools. I had to. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Job well done. Now, if y'all want some, my honey is for sale, I just want to.
I was gonna ask, and I thought that may not be appropriate.
Here you go. It is for sale.
We'll get you his information.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Dr. Jonathan Grantham, Deputy Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, has an update on curriculum and instruction to share with us.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, and Superintendent. We have a presentation for you tonight, but before we jump into the presentation, as most of you know, we had our scores come back last week. We are, as our superintendent has said, cautiously optimistic about where we are. It's kind of where we thought we would be. We have shown a little bit of growth, but it's our baseline year. This is our baseline data year. So we're bringing to you a very generic presentation. It's a big picture, holistic presentation. And as we meet, probably monthly, we're going to get more specific and fine-tune it so you can see as we're moving forward. I believe before the superintendent ever got here, she was having conversations with about some disconnects between performance, learning gains, and subject areas. So we currently have our program specialists, our content area specialists. We have our own beehive at Curriculum and Instruction, and in one big room in this old student union. It is an exceptional place of learning from each other, so I would encourage you to come see what they're doing. I walk around probably 3 times a day and ask, what are you doing? And what's great is you're seeing a science person talk to an elementary person, talk to a secondary person, speak to a professional development person. So they're all working collaboratively as one big think tank is what we're calling it. Dr. Ham laughs and calls it Google-licious, if you know anything about Google. So it's a great, innovative place to be, and we're enjoying it. But as Mr. McAteer and Ms. Gerlach present to you tonight, I want you to know we are moving forward, but this is a continuous improvement model. It is a constant moving target where we're going to say, what happened in civics, this is what we're doing. So one of the greatest things is when John McGowan can walk out of his office, go find the social studies person, and have a conversation about assessment with a social studies content person and talk about a new teacher coming in and professional development all at the same time. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful operation. So we are no longer in silos. We are all in this thing together. Actually, we're simplifying curriculum and instruction. There's one phone number to call if you want anything in curriculum instruction. I heard someone today say, hey, do you know where this person's at? And the lady's response was, I bet they're in that big room. Well, they are. Everybody's up there having conversations. So I invite you to listen to Ms. Gerlach and Mr. McAteer, and then at the end ask questions. But again, big ticket items today, and we're going to get more fine out as we continue.
Good evening, Superintendent, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and board members. We are extremely excited to be in front of you tonight to present our plan moving forward and how this is going to look in K-12 curriculum and instruction. Although he calls it the think tank, I would like to share that I call it Santa's workshop, because we are happy elves working away to create greatness. So with that in mind, we're going to start with some big picture items first, as Dr. Grantham already mentioned. When we consider what we have to do, it's important to remember the legal landscape in which we operate. And the first really governing document that we're going to consider is ESSA. To give you further background on that, in 1965, Lyndon B. Johnson and his administrative team came out with the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The next iteration of progress with that was No Child Left Behind in 2002. The most recent iteration is going to be ESSA, so that it's Every Student Succeeds Act, and that came into action in 2015 under the Obama administration. One of the things that I'd like to call out is everything that we have historically had to be accountable for, we are still maintaining. However, one of the other big pieces that I'd like to highlight and also give great accolades to our superintendent is the fourth bullet point, which is access to high-quality preschool. As a K-12 public entity, we do not have to do anything with pre-K. However, it is so vital and important to realize that our early learners have such great hope and promise. And if we can capture them earlier, we can truly start to work with our students and achieve great things. So as we look at this, we want to really consider what the federal government is asking us to do and what things that we can actually do within that. I'll click for you.
Thank you, Ms. Gerlach. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent, thank you for having us here this evening. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Florida standards, and that's what governs everything that we do in K-12 education. And if you look, you can see that the ELA standards were adopted in 2014, and it's really been a paradigm shift for a lot of our teachers and students, because there's still an emphasis on vocabulary and comprehension, but there's also a major emphasis on written expression, as well as how you students respond to complex text. No longer are we just doing vocabulary, A, B, C, D, answering the question, but students have to actually express what they learn, which again, makes sense in terms of what, as adults, but for a lot of our students, there is no more rote recall on standardized testing, which bleeds over into day-to-day instruction, which is very important to understand. In mathematics also, in 2014, the Florida standards include all of these different areas, but they're interrelated, where students in, from 3 to 12 will actually touch these in all the different subjects that they take. A student in geometry will still address the algebra standards, will still address numbers and quantity and functions and modeling. In science, we're still using the next generation Sunshine State standards that were adopted in 2008. It's important to understand here really the relationship between the four sciences and how they progress, and that our students have to get quality instruction at the elementary level and really be able to do the right things in their classrooms there, understanding the nature of science, understanding inquiry, so that they can develop more complex thought processes as they go into their middle and high school years. And also social studies has been very similar for a number of years, except for in 2014, the financial literacy piece was put in by DOE to make sure that our students are more fiscally responsible, which we would all agree is very, very important for our community. And Dr. Mayer has championed that in several venues over the last few months, as I've heard her speak, talking about our students. And we have a lot of volunteers that work with junior achievement at the elementary and middle school level, also work at high school. It's not just an economics class anymore, but financial literacy is something that permeates all of our elementary, middle, and high schools. So it's important to understand that. Okay. Talk a little bit about, we're also governed by an instructional materials policy, which I know the board is very familiar with. And basically, we have two choices. We can stay on the state's cycle for adopting materials, or we can come up with our own cycle for adopting materials. And under Dr. Mayer's leadership, with the board's approval, we have decided to go to what we will call Plan B. And we're very excited about that, because in the curriculum world, we are able to have more flexibility for our teachers to actually address the standards by having the most modern resources. And we're also extremely excited the fact that we're going to have community involvement in working with the textbook adoptions, and that's we're starting in social studies in 1819 and produce some ELA. Holly can speak more to that, and elementary ELA, but those are our two biggest priorities, as well as science. But we're going to actually have community members that are able to give their input, which is a part of this board and policy, which we are extremely excited about, being able to have everybody on the same page when it comes to what our students are learning.
So with this in mind, when we looked at this and we came under this new administration with Dr. Mayer, she was very forthcoming when she addressed both of us and said, we have some real deficits and some needs, and some specifically to elementary, some permeating K-12. So the first one and foremost is that explicit systematic phonics instruction. When we consider our elementary learners, the key to the kingdom is literacy. We have to be able to understand how to read and how to understand text so we can now access information. But it's not just okay just to be a consumer of literacy anymore, we also have to be producers as well. So what is that actually going to look like? Well, it starts with that alphabetical principle. If we don't understand phonemes and we don't understand what that means and how to blend and segment and to actually look at digraphs and diphthongs and how they work together to actually comprise the English language, how are we ever going to access information in text and throughout the disciplines? So with that, we are putting together a very explicit, systematic, sequential order to our phonics instructions, starting with pre-K, going through second, and then continuing through third, fourth, and fifth grade, because phonics instruction does not stop there, contrary to popular belief. Although it's not about just grappling with phonemes anymore, you need to understand how to decode multisyllabic words, and we need to provide you with skills and with content to actually access that information. Also with that, looking at our history and our social studies texts and looking at what kind of American core values and patriotism is embodied into that, because we are blessed to be a part of this wonderful country, and by God, we should be making sure that we instill those values within our students. And if our books aren't currently doing that, then we're gonna find the right text that is gonna support that, and the community will help us with those endeavors as well. Also in mind, focusing on that tier 1 instruction. With that in mind, we currently have a system in place called our MTSS, or our multi-tiered system of support. All students are part of that process. However, the type of actual tiered instruction that they receive is going to depend on the amount of scaffolding and support they need. Historically, we have spent a lot of time on computerized programs and a lot of scripted lessons and a lot of things that were all about intervening and assessing and intervening and assessing, and we were never giving them authentic opportunities to teach the standards. So we really want to empower our teachers and to give them these wonderful, authentic learning opportunities to actually understand the standards and interact with that content area. So actually spending time teaching and interacting. So our big tagline is investing in people, not programs. We want to build our human capacity with our teachers by providing them the resources and support and professional development that they need to be successful. And with that in mind, really looking at how do we understand if our instruction is indeed effective. Assessment is great and it's very powerful, but it's only powerful if we're assessing in the right way and we're actually measuring authentically what the learning process is actually asking us to do. So this whole notion of standardized bubble testing, okay, we have to do certain ones of those, bubble tests if you will, per the state, but authentic assessment happens every day. And it happens in every content area, and it doesn't have to just simply be captured on a bubble test, if you will. So we're really going to help our teachers and empower them to understand assessment is a very fluid and organic process in which we can help to make sure that not only we are measuring our success as teachers and making sure our teaching practices are effective, but also more importantly, measuring our students' understanding and growth in those content areas. So this next piece, the next couple of slides, when we really look in terms of what we are doing in this big mind shift and how we're going to get these pieces through, we want to look at the guiding philosophy behind these different pieces and actually measuring the research-based interventions and the different components of these programs. And one of the big parts that we want to call attention to is that our standards and what we should be doing should be sequential in the notion that it should be developed grade level by grade level, so we should be having that vertical articulation process, and also ensuring that those prerequisite skills and those different components are built and foundational to one another, so that when we look at this K-12 continuum, we can actually measure our growth and success throughout those domains. The other big piece, as I've said, and I'll reiterate again, we firmly believe in this notion of literacy. It truly is, and I'll say it again, that key to the kingdom. Literacy is foundational to all of our content areas, but also understanding that those different components of literacy are going to look different in the different disciplines, so how to provide those supports. Also with this, there are 4 C's. So looking at these pieces, the first one being content rich. We want to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of the standards in which we teach. We want to be teaching to the depth and complexity at which those standards are written per the Florida standards. Also ensuring that we are making sure they are developmentally appropriate for our youngest learners, and we're scaffolding those experiences to ensure that we're moving through this continuum of public education. With that in mind, the next C being cumulative. How are we actually measuring our success for our students' learning? What kind of experience, what authentic opportunities do they have to demonstrate their knowledge? How can we empower our students with choice and having them showcase their new understanding and knowledge and building upon what they currently know? Going back to coherent, everything that we do should be deliberate. We should understand what is that prerequisite skill coming before, if in case there's any deficits, also understanding what comes after that, because if we have a student that has already mastered a standard, how can we guide and enrich their instructional minutes so that they're not getting that same repeated lesson? So really ensuring that we're doing our due diligence to make sure every single child receives what they need to be successful and maximizing their potential. Last but not least, cross-curricular. Education, unfortunately, often operates in silos. We have math from 9 to 10, and that's the only time where we talk about mathematical vocabulary, and then we go about our business. Why can't we, once again, reiterate those skills and concepts that we learned in mathematics in science? Because applied mathematics, it's constant in our science instruction. So it's really about breaking down those barriers and scaffolding these experiences with our students so they understand that all of these pieces go together to create a coherent and cross-curricular continuum for their enduring understanding. So this next part, how do we actually effectively implement all of these different pieces? And some of this may sound familiar because we've addressed some of these pieces before, but looking at these pieces, guided by philosophy, well, that's the great news about this. We have a superintendent who's given a wonderful district vision and mission and where we want to go. We want to ensure all students are successful and that are working towards this goal of being successful in mastering those K-12 standards per the Florida standards. With that in mind, also looking at our teachers, they need constant planning time and preparation and communication with one another. We are very dedicated to providing them that collaborative planning time within their daily schedules, so they do have time to interact and work with one another, to look and to actually go through those standards and those processes, so we can maximize our time when we actually have students in front of us for the most authentic learning experiences possible. As with anything, this is something that's going to be an ongoing process. As Dr. Grantham already mentioned, we know very well that we've established a baseline, and the notion is continual growth for us as the district, if you will, but also for our school-based leaders and for our teachers, and most importantly for our students. It's going to change continuously based on the data and the needs, and us being flexible and responsive to serve our students in the best way possible. Depends on effective teaching. It sounds like common sense, but understanding what is effective teaching, and it's not just because we've always done it this way or, hey, I like this. It's a matter of what actual psychometrics can we analyze to say that, yes, this is going to be successful, and we have data to support it, and that we can actually look at the return on investment in terms of what are we doing with our students. Also with that, strong leadership. I think this is a big testament to what we did with all of the administrative changes. We really wanted to look at maximizing our school-based leadership and looking at their skills and their talents and their strengths and putting them at school sites that would best be suited to serve those needs. And I think we're going to continuously see great things coming from those school-based leaders. Strengthened by community involvement. I think to disregard the community and not recognize that it does take a village would be remiss of us. I think it's an ongoing conversation. We need the wonderful community to support our endeavors, and we look forward to those ongoing conversations and partnerships that can be formed. Last but not least, requires resources and support. That's one of those things, reiterating that wonderful instructional materials policy. We're hoping to get a lot more flexibility to actually make sure that we have the greatest resources to help us teach those standards. All right, so this next piece, was this you? We got excited. All right, so this next part about this is, so changes, looking at these big changes. Student achievement is always at the forefront of the conversations. We know, as defined by ESSA and the Florida Department of Education, we need to ensure and have accountability measures to maintain that continuous improvement model. And one of the ways that we do that is through our student achievement and looking at those data pieces and scores. Once again, reiterating those strong instructional pedagogies. What does that actually look like? How do I know if I'm actually being an effective science teacher? Especially speaking in terms of elementary, we're generalists. We have to do all things great. So we want to ensure that we're providing those teachers with plenty of support and scaffolding, because it's one of those things where often you might not be comfortable in a subject area, but what can we do to ensure that you do feel comfortable teaching all of those subjects? Updated resources and support, we know, and that will once again hopefully come with this new process as we embark on this wonderful journey of picking great materials. But in the meantime, we know as the curriculum and instruction team that we're going to make sure that we're revisiting our current resources, how to best utilize them and ensure that they are written to the standards. And if they don't, we will make sure that we find adequate things in the meantime. Redefining assessment, we talked a little bit about this, but once again, looking at what is assessment, what's the intended purpose of assessing, and how are we going to actually gauge our students' growth and learning. Last but not least, targeted professional development. We've offered numerous different types of professional development, but when we came on board, Dr. Mayer instructed that we needed to actually get a scope of our teachers and actually create this needs assessment on what do you need to help you be successful, rather than us always telling you this is what you need. So we actually did a district-wide survey, and we captured lots of different opinions, and we've really created actual targeted professional development for those teachers to truly make sure that we're meeting their needs for continued growth. So actually looking into the content area, so English language arts, specifically to reading, one of the big important things to realize with this new Florida standards, they really want to ensure that we are starting to communicate reading and writing are reciprocal processes. They interact with one another and they're dependent on one another. So with that, we want to ensure that we're providing authentic reading opportunities. One of the greatest things that we need to know and understand is the only way that students are going to get better at reading is to actually have them read. Now, there's going to be varying levels of support needed to actually move through that continuum of an emergent reader to a fluent reader, but knowing they have to actually practice and have those authentic reading opportunities with scaffolding and support. Also ensuring that we're actually addressing all 5 components of the reading continuum. We cannot just teach one in isolation. They all work together and they build upon one another in those foundational pieces. So obviously, starting with that whole notion of phonemic awareness, if we don't understand what a phoneme is, there's no way I can expect you to actually decode and to build out those phonics pieces, much less to actually read fluently and understand those different tiered vocabulary words and then to understand it all. So also with that in mind, with the new shift in the standards, they're actually segmented out into informational and then literature. So making sure that we spend a split time in doing our due diligence by interacting with a balance of a variety of different text. in different types of text, and also reiterating the notion of multimodal literacy, that it's not just a book anymore. Text can take and manifest in a variety of different ways, and exposing those real world reading opportunities to our students. Once again, like I said, and I'll say it again because I feel that strongly about it, literacy is the key to the kingdom. We need to understand what literacy practices actually look like within the disciplines. Scientific literacy, there is a way to actually navigate through a scientific text, and we have to be able to scaffold and to teach and support our students through those types of text. There we go. The writing portion of this. With that same notion, we actually have to provide opportunities for students to write in order to get better at writing. With that in mind, once again, the only way to do that is to actually give them that direct instruction and then to pull back on those scaffoldings as necessary. But giving them those mini lessons and actually working side by side with those students and saying, hey, listen, this is a scientific research report. How is this type of text going to look different than a personal narrative? And having those conversations and sharing those experiences based off of mentor texts, because who better to look at than published authors? They're published for a reason. So let's analyze and look at those components of what effective writers do. And I'm going to go to Ken. I'll put it for you.
Thank you. And one of the things I'll say before we move into mathematics is one of the things that's been great. I scheduled a high school for a long time. So when my philosophy of scheduling a high school was we went on student choice. And when basically we didn't say we couldn't offer something, if we put it in the curriculum guide, we made a way to offer it. And going back to something that Holly had touched on earlier about professional development, one of the wonderful things that Dr. Mayer and Dr. Grantham have done this summer, if we have people signing up and filling up courses for our PD, we have 80 spots and we have 82, 83 people before we have 4 or 5 days still left. And one of the great things is, I don't know that Ms. Boston Ellis loves this, but they say, open it back up. We'll do whatever we need to do to make sure that we have enough sections for those teachers to get the PD that they want, because a lot of these things are continuum shifts and the paradigm shifts, and we want to make sure that we're arming our teachers with the tools to be successful, and a lot of that comes along with targeted PD. So into the mathematics piece, one of the things that's really important that I touched on when I talked about the Florida standards earlier is when we learned math many, many years ago, we probably learned number sense, then we went to geometry, and we used some numbers, but not a ton of numbers, and then we did algebra 2, we went into some really abstract numbers, and if we were lucky or unlucky, as the case may be, we went into pre-calculus, where everything was really abstract, and calculus. Now everything, except maybe pre-calculus and calculus, the standards are all intertwined from grade 3 all the way through, and really in the lower grades too, but especially in 3rd grade up. So if you're not getting the geometric basics in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade math, then you're going to struggle when you get to that 10th grade or 9th grade geometry honors or geometry class. So it's really important, and our program specialists are really looking at ways to try to address building on students' prior knowledge. You've heard so many times, I'm not good at math. And that's usually a cop-out. But sometimes it can be true because we haven't built their prior knowledge and we haven't done the job that we need to do, myself included, working in those classrooms. Another thing that's really always been a struggle for math students that we're really trying to address is concrete versus abstract. Most of us can take manipulatives and do basic math. Most of us can do a lot of different things with numbers on a paper. Being able actually to take them and take hypothetical situations based on concrete situations, that is a struggle for our students. And I can tell you as former high school principal in 12th grade, forget about 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So that's really, really important if we're going to build our students' math capacity, that we build that. And we kind of mentioned, Holly mentioned some other things earlier, but inquiry-based model, really looking at direct instruction, developing into scaffolding and cooperative learning, hands-on investigations, and then bringing it back to how can I express this? How can I be able to take this abstract and then make it concrete? Because that's the important part. We have students going from concrete to abstract in math concepts. We need to bring it back where it becomes concrete to them. Then they won't say, I'm not good at math anymore. They'll say, I am good at math. Content-based reading strategies, as Holly mentioned earlier, we don't work in silos in education. The standards are all interrelated. If you go into any of the math standards for any of the grade levels, you will see reading standards. You will see things that students are expected to do. So it's really important. It's also really important to understand that math has its own vocabulary. and it's different. And the way it's written is different, just like when we talk about science. So it's really, really important. It's also important that we deal with the 8 standards for mathematical practice from NCTM, which is National Council for Teaching Mathematics. It's really, really, the DOE has adopted those. They're really, really important because if students can understand those, they'll understand any level of math. But that's easier said than done. And that's why our teachers are going to work very hard this year and our program specialists to make sure that we get them where they need to go. So basically the key point here is it's just not about number sense anymore like it used to be. It's really about the thinking process and taking those numbers and being able to express them in the abstract and bring them back to the concrete. Go ahead. Really, for science, it's understanding how the 4 different sciences that you saw in the standards are related to each other because they build on each other, but they also have a lot of concepts, as I mentioned in math, that are interrelated, and really understanding and having enduring understanding of the big ideas. There's a reason why we do the scientific method from the time we're in 3rd grade, 2nd grade science to the time we're in AP chemistry, because it's really, really important, and we have to hit those types of things and make sure that they hit home by repetition and by developing student skills as it becomes more age appropriate for them to build that capacity. And obviously you can see here the 5 E's model: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. Key to anything, but especially in science, especially in science. So really the key here is for students to explore the standards and be able to express what they have learned. Okay, go to the next one. Social studies, really looking at social studies. We've talked about a lot of the same things earlier, really making sure that we have that reading and writing piece in place, really making sure that students can express what they've learned and making sure that they're able to, all writing is interrelated, but there's a different way to write about social studies than there is about science and there is about ELA, but they're all have some of the same basic tenets that our students need to make sure that they have. Use of primary and secondary sources. As a social studies teacher, former social studies teacher, but I still consider myself a social studies teacher, you've got the Declaration of Independence, you've got the Constitution, you've got at the Marion County Library, you've got all different types of things that teachers can use, and our teachers do that very well for civics, for different elementary social studies, and especially in high school. But there are so many sources. I saw a quote yesterday from an educational leader on Twitter, and it talked about textbooks are very important, but 99% of what students learn about the social sciences especially can be learned outside a textbook from their own communities, as well as from things that have happened in the past from primary and secondary source documents. So that's really, really important. Character education. Dr. Mayer's made this a very, very focused part of what we want to do in social studies, making sure that our students are getting the correct character education, they're able to have perspective on their community, they're able to see things in context, and that they're able to make good decisions based on what we've done historically. Everything's interrelated, but there's a connection there between looking, you've heard the quote, those that don't read history, or I'm paraphrasing, are doomed to repeat it, but it's very, very important that our students understand, in addition to character education, in which they get in most of their subjects, and making sure that they're doing the right things, that they understand that there's historical precedents for a lot of things that have happened. And then probably the thing that I'm most excited about is the community partnerships. We have just a plethora of things that we can have our social studies students exposed to in Marion County, from the Veterans Council. Dr. Mayer's work with the veterans is unprecedented, Purple Heart sites and students. When we go out and we bring students out to see a parking spot, it's not about the parking spot, though that's very important. It's about what the students learn and what the students learn from that commitment and the questions that they go back and ask their teachers in the classrooms. And that's really, really important. Also, some other things we had 2 of our program specialists, one of mine and one of Holly's, that was down at a free institute for 5 days for the Holocaust remembrance. And it's really, really important, again, that we hit home. We've had Dr. Mayer out at Westport High School. I know Ms. Stacy was there, and several folks were there for the Holocaust Remembrance thing that we did, ceremony that we did in partnership with the city of Ocala, and that's something that we really want to expand to make sure that all of our students are really aware of our past history, and also that we have folks right here in this community that can share a real-life perspective on those things. It's extremely important. And then the Fort King Heritage Association, we have Silver Springs here. We have Fort King here. I know Ms. McCall knows all about Fort King, but we have we have lots of different historical areas. We have Dunellen with, the phosphate boom. We have all different types of areas of Marion County that our students can learn about, and it's really, as a former teacher, it's really exciting for them when they can take that local history and then try to put it into context with the national history and the world history that they're learning at the same time. It's really, really important to make those connections, but again, at the end of the day, it's also important that they can express those in a literate way to their peers and to the community. Arts and music, one of the things that that Dr. Mayer has done is hired a dedicated program specialist for arts and music. Very, very important, because as a former principal of an arts magnet, I can tell you that the arts and the music help to develop the critical thinking processes that are in the other classes that students take. And it's extremely important. It supports everything that we do in other subjects that we have. And they can also there's lots of history, there's lots of global connection, and there's also lots of technology. It's really, really important that students learn by creating music, by creating art, and they study the historical context that a lot of art and music was done, and they can see the things that they can do as regular students here in Marion County Public Schools to be able to do those things. Also understanding the organizational structure, but most importantly, you learn skills, techniques, and thinking processes, which is extremely important. And then physical education, allowing students to develop the skills on a K-12 continuum that helps them to become healthy and responsible adults. You can see cognitive abilities and physical education are extremely important, making sure that we have students that understand the importance of being healthy and fit for life, making sure we understand how movement relates to brain function. I mean, it's really, really important, especially at the elementary level, but at all levels, even at our level, to understand. And there's lots of studies that you can read out there that will tell you that being able to do those things helps us think better. And also hitting home, we talked about in social studies, but character education, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a social studies thing, it's a thing throughout our subject areas. And then also health concepts and promotion, but very, very important there. And then we also, for our elementary students this year, are going to have recess, which I think is very important for them to be able to create a lot of their own play. We've got structured physical education, but we've also got lots of studies have shown that children think better when they create their own play and their own things. So. Okay.
So as we wrap up, we're happy about two things. I'm happy that they're excited and that they're here. If you can't hear their passion, they're on fire, and so are the people that are working for us. This is there's a buzz in that room that we're talking about what we're going to do. Our superintendent tells us all the time, she tells Dr. Hammond and I all the time, fix it. Well, we're paying attention to it. And you can see these as we're going through the thing. I think I know something we're doing a tremendous job with is the bulleted second point, the community partnerships. It is a continuous improvement model, but Mark and our PD folks we're asking, what can we do to help? What do you need from us? Ms. King, I know how you are about professional development. We have, and that's what Ken was alluding to, if we have full sections, we say, okay, we need to do more. So we continue. So we're listening, we're talking. When it didn't work, it does work. So a lot of conversation are happening. And the most important thing on this slide, in our opinion, is the last two words, the student success. That's why we're here. Principal sent me an email. Brian Green from Bellevue Santos sent an email disaggregating his data and say, we've gotten better, we're doing this. And what we kind of replied back was, we're so proud of how your kids are doing. We're still roughly around the 50% literacy mark, where 50% can and 50% cannot read. And it's disheartening as a district and as an organization, but we are fixing it, as the superintendent says. So we thank you for this presentation. We hope it was informational. And again, we will get more specific as time goes by. Mr. James, I'm happy to say to you, Ms. Boston-Ellis, you said you want to see the money. Well, we're going to show you the money. We're going to show you all this at the same time pretty soon. So we're almost there. So with that being said, any questions or concerns from our board members?
Any questions? Mr. James?
Job well done. Thank you.
I just want to say, it makes me want to go back to school. Wow, I'm excited.
That was a terrific presentation, and what I was seeing a lot of is you guys are about to unleash a lot of potential. And I am excited, and I don't want to rush our lives, but I can't wait to see what happens this next year and stuff. So thank you, and we appreciate your hard work and dedication. Okay, thank you.
I'll say, let's go.
Let's do this. Okay. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
In compliance with Florida Sunshine Law, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table near the door. Public speaker forms are also located on the table. The completed forms were due to the school board assistant no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt. Based on time consideration, the school board, by majority vote, can decide to limit the number of presentations on any one topic, shorten presentation times, move public time to a different position on tonight's agenda, or eliminate the public comment time for this meeting and any other. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes. If there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker times to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to others. Speakers and meeting attendees must conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks, slanderous statements, and profanity are prohibited. Unsolicited commercial solicitations are also prohibited. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. Keep in mind for future meetings that speakers may use handouts or audiovisual presentations, but only if they are provided at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. They must also have a total length of 5 minutes or less. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's last or first name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and or their families are strictly prohibited. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Walketter?
Chris Altabello.
Chris Altabello, 2020 Northeast 43rd Street, Ocala, Florida, 34479. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, board members. I am here tonight to, once again, talk about HB 7069. And I think it's important that we understand that our schools and our students are pawns in a political game that really nobody should tolerate. HB 7069 has been called a scam, train wreck, patched together mess, gut punch to our schools, piece of junk, a litany of bad ideas, and even a fraud upon the state. And worst of all, it will hurt the students that it so piously claims to help. This disaster is House Speaker Richard Corcoran's education priority. And I'd like to share with you his opening day, one of his opening day quotes. I also want to deliver a message to all the entities with whom the House has engaged with. We extend our hand to you. Come to the table, sit down, and let's work together to ensure real reform and genuine accountability. We don't believe the House has a monopoly on good ideas. We're willing to listen, we're willing to talk, and we're willing to enter in good compromise. That was the House Speaker on opening day of the session. The problem is that the Speaker could not get his agenda, education agenda, passed without making backroom deals and using sleight of hand shenanigans. It's just that bad. Now, the 278-page bill, which right there should be vetoed because of that. 278 pages. Now, I've got it right here, but it's not 278 pages. I didn't want to kill any more trees, so I've got it back to back. And I will tell you, I'm in the process of reading it, and if our kids had to read this kind of stuff, they wouldn't read it all. But let me just share with you a couple of things that you probably know, or maybe you don't. This bill, HB 7069, was initially called the Best and Brightest Teachers and Principals Bill. And it was, on April 13th, it was delivered to the House as a 6-page bill, right? 6-page. On May 5th, the 278-page conference report, right here, is released, get this, 3 minutes before being presented at the 4 o'clock meeting. On May 8th, just a few days later, the bill passes the House 36 to 70, or 73-36, and the Senate 20-18. Sadly, with no help from our Marion delegation of senators. The problem also is that this bill hasn't been thoroughly vetted through the legislative process. In fact, some of the provisions have even been voted down by committee. Now, when I was up here, it talked about how you fully embrace, this board fully embraced the notion of giving that performance award of expectation of reemployment. You signed a document which the association was very happy that you advocated for us. Now, that bill was voted down in committee, died. It's in here. It's like an old mentor of mine. It's like ragu. It's in here. Okay. I figure we're talking about bees. Let's bring everything out tonight. HB 7069, negotiated in secret behind closed doors, cynically ties popular changes like more recess, elimination of some tests, actually one test, Algebra 2. Okay, that's testing reform in Tallahassee. An optional use of the VAM, although they're still going to tell us that we've got to do that, and yet another teacher bonus, which nobody really wants, tied to an education budget that by all means won't even come close to meeting the needs of our students. So legislative leaders promised voters that the legislative process should have been transparent. Now, this process was anything but transparent. Even more despicable, they included these little sweeteners in a bill attempting to tie the hands of legislators, so they had to vote for it, forcing them to vote and either pass or fail, with no opportunity to amend or change it during the final vote. So, don't let them get away with this. I ask that you reach out to whoever you know and ask them to call our governor and tell him that this bill needs to be sent back and properly debated. And, you know, in my mind, this is a corrupt bargain. And since we've been talking about all this tonight, I'm a history buff. In 1824, there was a corrupt bargain with the election of John Quincy Adams. And you fast forward 190 years, we got the same thing going around here with HB 7069. It's a corrupt bargain. Thank you.
Chris, before you leave.
Yes.
I don't know if you plan on leaving immediately or waiting to the end of this meeting, but there will be a letter to the governor that is asking him to veto House Bill 7069. It hasn't passed yet, but if you want to wait and see, then we'll be glad to provide you a copy of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other speakers? Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda C8.1-C22.3, including the updated attachment for non-instructional management salary schedule under item C12.1 and the updated grant application for Title IX, Part A, Education of Homeless Children and Youth Project 2017 through 18. Under item C22.3 and with the exception of items C9.2 and C15.3, which have been placed on regular agenda for discussion. May I have a motion? Moved by Ms. McCall and seconded by Ms. Boynton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign.
Oh, we got this back up. Okay.
In the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the outside counsel agreement with Attorney Mark Levitt of Allen, Norton, and Blue? May I have a motion in a second?
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Mr. James. I withdrew this item, therefore I will pass the gavel to Vice Chair Ms. McCall.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there discussion on this motion?
Yes. I pulled this item off the agenda because the last Thursday's work session, the board had requested some information. The board had requested what other counties are doing with their outside counsel, and then we also asked what the previous bill amount hours were. Monday, I did call and asked if it had been removed because I assumed, which we shouldn't, that it would be brought up at our next work session, and it wasn't. So it's still on the agenda for us to vote on tonight, but I know this board clearly had questions, and there needed to be some discussion, and so that's why I pulled this item.
I do have some discussion on that particular contract. That contract with that outside counsel, I went back and looked at some information where the hourly wage had kind of crept up on that person, and it was being done through a different way of an approved type. It didn't like ring up to us that it was a big change in the contract. It was very smoothly presented in such a way through our agenda that it didn't flag it that there was a change. And so we would vote on this not knowing that there was a change in contract rate, because we can't know as school board members with 1,000 contracts out what the actual approved contract should be. And so it wasn't a flag of a change. And this hourly wage on that attorney has gradually just kind of crept up and really just kind of came to the forefront during all of this. And so I did receive some information, but I don't know, like, on that particular outside counsel for bargaining and negotiations and the different issues that that attorney handles for us, what type of comparison to other districts, these same districts that we compared the attorney for, I would like to see the same comparison, what they pay for their bargaining team and their bargaining attorney also. And if I received that, I missed the email. Did I receive that?
Mr. Ham?
Yeah, if I may back up a little bit. The contract you're discussing right now is with the Allen, Norton, and Blue representative, Mr. Levitt. That is at the same rate that it was last year. That's not an increase.
I got past this last year, though,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
And
The way it was presented.
understand that the reference for this is your board policy 2.41, says the superintendent shall have the authority to obtain at board expense an attorney to represent him or her in any legal matter regarding the performance of his or her duties when special counsel is needed beyond the service normally rendered by the school board attorney. And of course, the staff elements under the superintendent for routine legal questions do refer to the board attorney for those questions. At issue is what do you do with items that demand the superintendent have an independent counsel. And there are really two large classifications of those types of issues. The first one deals with our labor relations. Should a contract go to impasse, or should we have a disciplinary action that in either case, those are going to come to you as a legislative body to settle the issue. And what you then have is a board attorney who's going to advise you on the conduct of that hearing. You have the superintendent's attorney who's going to represent the superintendent's interest in the contract. And you're going to have the bargaining unit, the labor union attorney, argue in their case. So at this time, it's a question of making sure the superintendent has competent attorneys to represent adequately before you on that issue. Mr. Levitt has been very successful at doing that for Allen, Norton, and Blue, and has been for several years. I had the distinct pleasure of being across from him at some of those hearings and arguing the case. So in this case, since we're talking about that contract, these are reasonable amounts. The information that I forwarded to the board immediately after the work session on Thursday, I found the 6 counties closest to us in terms of student population, and I emailed the superintendents asking for their information about how they provide legal services to their superintendent, not to the board attorney, but to their superintendent.
I'm confused. I thought we're talking about Mr. Levitt's contract right now.
We are.
Okay.
And Mr. Levitt is one of several contracts that the superintendent uses for specialized areas. What I tried to paint for you is the different approach that those counties take. And 4 of the 6 counties responded by explaining their model to me. For example, in Manatee County, the superintendent retains a general counsel. And that general counsel advises on the types of things that we typically take to the board attorney to be considered. But the superintendent in Manatee County also contracts with specialized attorneys to deal with issues like labor relations, like workers' comp issues, where specialized attorney services are needed. Each district seems to approach it differently depending on what the qualifications are of their in-house attorney and where they feel they need to go elsewhere. St. Lucie County, for example, has its own legal services office under the superintendent, where they have an executive director of legal services at a salary of, I believe, $133,000, and an associate attorney at $119,000. Again, this is separate from the board's attorney for hearings and the conduct of board meetings. Escambia County is much lower on the scale. They have fewer legal actions, and they contract out everything. And for their general services, they're at the same rate that the superintendent's current attorney is being paid. One of the things that we've seen here tonight is that if you have the right people doing the right job, it can be exciting. And I hope that you have that sense as we've gone through the meeting this evening. We believe that Mr. Levitt is the right person doing the right job to continue to represent us in our relations with the bargaining units and can effectively represent the superintendent's interests. Understand that when you're sitting as a legislative body and you're going to divide the baby, you're going to decide an impasse on a labor contract, you are in essence controlling her representation, but you have no control on the attorney and what he's being paid on the other side of the room. What we're asking for is that the intent of the board policy be followed and that you permit the superintendent to select her attorney and that we pay for that.
Ms. Stacy?
Okay. But these attorney fees that are just going up faster than FTEs going up for our students. And we've got this sudden, influx of a sudden cost. And we didn't even discuss Mr. Levitt's last time when he went up, because the way it was presented to us, it kind of went, there was no red flag to it that there was a change. And so it's just kind of been creeping up on us until now, when we are taking a better look at it as it's going up again. What is it going up to now, 270?
No, his is 250.
250, his is going to 250.
Per hour, same as it was last year.
But see, last year we didn't debate it. What was it the year before that?
I wasn't.
I know it took a
So,
jump.
Ms. Stacy, if I may,
Okay, please.
experience matters, and experienced attorneys with good reputations, this is a low fee, to be very honest with you. And I would suggest that that we want an experienced person in this position. You can hire somebody with less experience.
Well, on Mr. Levitt, I do agree that he's been working with us for a number of years. And that I do agree that and actually, his bills aren't, they're high, but they're not, they seem to be consistent. They seem to be consistently running, but,
Mr. James?
You know, one of the things that we talked about, I don't know whether we're together or not, Nancy, but I'm gonna say this.
all right.
I was looking for more information than what I was getting. Because one of the things that we talked about was we wanted to look at the different salaries for various counties. And I wanted to put apples there and look at them and see if there was a good apple or bad apple. Okay, I did look at Mr. Levitt, and it was $250, what we've done in the past. But I still wanted to see what we're doing. Okay, and my question is, are we working on a time frame here?
They want it passed tonight. I mean, we're gonna vote on it tonight, one way or the other, it was brought to us. They didn't
Well,
provide us a chance to have more discussion on this, so,
well, I'd like to have more discussion.
so you wanna table it?
I would like to table it until we get some more information. I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna vote for the thing, but I want more information.
And I'm the same way. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna vote for it. I'm saying that I still don't know what other counties contracted out for their bargaining teams and that sort of, the type of work that, Mr. Levitt does for us for employee issues and stuff like that. I don't know what other districts our size are contracting out at. I mean, even with your information you just shared with us about Manatee County and their contracting, and, oh yeah, the superintendent has their own office, but there's it's a completely different situation. Manatee County has an appointed superintendent. The superintendent works at the school board's pleasure. School board hires him. So the school board doesn't have their own attorney. I've contacted Manatee. School board doesn't have their own in-house attorney. They have a contracted out attorney. Because the superintendent's hired by the school board. So the superintendent's attorney handles district contracts, like our board attorney does, handles school board policies, like our school board attorney does. So therefore, it's not really a superintendent's attorney, it is like a blend of things. So then therefore, because it is a different complete setup with the appointed superintendent concept, that is more like a work together, they more or less share attorney on a lot of issues. And it is the superintendent's attorney when need be, but it's also the school board's attorney for contracts and things like that we handle with our contract attorney because we are an elected superintendent. So, and I know, in Lake County, don't they, the outside counsel gets like $175 an hour, don't they?
For general legal issues, yes.
Okay.
But all of the counties also contract out.
But I'm talking about the straight superintendent attorney. The superintendent's attorney in Lake County doesn't it, and that's about the size of us. And in Escambia County, that's $175 an hour for the superintendent's attorney. I've talked about Manatee County. It is a blend. It's not, that superintendent's attorney kind of does a combination of school board stuff. So the county that we always talk about when we're talking about Marion County that's most socioeconomically balanced as far as we're concerned is always Escambia. That's all I've ever heard for 5 years is Escambia County because socioeconomically, money coming in, that sort of thing, number of students, that's kind of where we are. Their outside counsel for their superintendent is at the $175 figure, which is kind of in that recommended range that's recommended by the administrative code. That's where I am on that. And, I know you stated in your letter that you wrote to us that you would expect to have fewer legal issues with a more expensive attorney. I don't really think that that's the case because to me that is an insult to our attorney that was here for Mr. Tomlin before because he is now a judge. And so I believe he was making $175 an hour. And what was his name?
Sanders.
Mr. Sanders. To say that just because we're going to pay an attorney $100 an hour more, we're going to have less cases, I believe is kind of like an insult to Mr. Sanders' competence because I don't believe that I don't believe that a higher paid attorney is going to equal less cases. I mean, that might be your opinion, but I don't know what kind of research you have to base that upon that would make me believe it. But I generally, 95% of the time plus, I agree with the superintendent's recommendations, I agree with the recommendations you bring before me, but I do not agree on this recommendation.
So, do I hear that you all would like to table this discussion?
Right.
Can we get the more information? More financial?
You'll be more
information?
specific about what you want. I
We
mean,
would like the hourly rate of a superintendent's general counsel. I would say of an elected superintendent, because I think it's gonna be very different for an appointed superintendent.
Manatee, we can't really compare apples to
well, the
I
issue
contend-
here is that the hourly rate for general counsel is typically what is recommended in the administrative code, which, by the way, is not binding on you in this case, and that's $175 per hour. But all of those districts also retain specialized counsel for specialized types of issues, like workers' comp, like ESE issues in some districts.
Correct.
And they absolutely, whether it's an appointed superintendent or an elected superintendent, have no choice but to go with an outside counsel on any matter that could come before the board when you have to become a legislative body and settle the issue. And those are we have two contracts to talk about tonight. One of them deals with the labor relations and impasse at bargaining, and that's what Mr. Levitt typically does for us. And the other is the next contract that I would talk about, which deals with the disciplinary matters.
So
And
my
in those cases, they pay more than the $175 because it's specialized counsel.
Correct. And so my question is, are we on a time frame? Or did these attorneys, are we losing Mr. Levitt's contract if we don't decide this tonight?
Mr. Levitt's contract runs through June 30th, and the superintendent's current attorney contract is up July 18th, I believe.
Okay. My biggest concern is that, are we working on a time frame? Because I know we've had Mr. Levitt for how many years now? 20? Yeah, somewhere in there. And again, I would like to get some information, more time to look at what we're doing here.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, I think we would like to look at hourly rates of attorneys in the general counsel and in the specialized areas. That's,
Okay, well, one thing that would be interesting too, I know that we have been working with Mr. Levitt for a pretty good little while. Okay, and I looked at the information that you sent to us, Dr. Ham, and I appreciate you getting that information to us. But I still was left with the idea that, again, we are getting ready to look at the raising of attorney fees, salaries rather. And I just would like to have more information. Let's look at it a little bit more. And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna vote for it. I just wanna have more information and more time to digest this thing.
I agree with what you said, and also keep in mind, just because we've been doing it for 20 years doesn't mean that we have to keep doing it for 20 more years. I think we need to be good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars and make good, sound, informed decisions. You know, and those are just my thoughts.
so,
I'd like to tell you what I'd like to have, if I may. When you asked, the attorney himself, his number of hours, the paralegal or assistant.
Which attorney, ma'am?
That we're talking about, the case we're on right now,
Mr.
Levitt's.
Levitt?
Right. The, what his paralegal gets and his associates get and all that, and how many hours they've been billed to us, like off the bill. The hours billed, which I believe that's the way it showed, if I was reading it correctly, on Mr. Sanders, because I saw your name on there and some, and I saw another person's name, like maybe it was a legal secretary or something, or an assistant or something, fixed the same way with Levitt, so we kind of know. I'd like to also know what Levitt made the year before and what his billing hours were the year before. Because possibly if his billing hours were less the year before, but he made, more hours, but he made the same amount of money, then, maybe the expertise, he's taking him less time to do it, I don't know. But I'd just like to know a little history for a couple of years, maybe 3 years, to kind of see where we've been going. Have we been creeping up and things happening that the board didn't even know what was happening because of the way it was presented to us with no red flags that salaries were changing. So I'd like to know how that's creeped up on the, and I know Ms. Boston Ellis can pop that out of the computer, that like they popped this out already. So, I definitely would like to see that, and I'd like to see the same on Mr. Sanders. And pretty much you did that for us on there as best I could see, so that kind of gives me an idea on that. So we can look at it and say, this is 2 years or 3 years, and this is kind of what we look to, for this increase to be at the same number of hours. If it goes up, kind of what we're looking at. Are we looking at $10,000? Are we looking at possibly $100,000? I don't know.
I don't know, Ms. Stacy, that, I think it'll be an average. But again, I will say to you and to the board that experience matters, and there are a lot of attorneys in this community. You can pick from one of them, but it doesn't mean that you'll get the quality that you get from somebody who has the experience
And
that
that's
they
a
have.
good point, and I would like to know on the superintendent's attorney, Ms. McCall, what is his background and what is his experience? And I mean, what's different about him that makes him 60% more valuable or whatever than Mr. Sanders was? Like, what background does he have? You know, so I'd like to know kind of where he's come from as far as.
In response to your first question, I did send you an email at 10:47
I
this
saw that.
morning,
And I-
and included in that is Mr. Levitt's history from 15, 16, 16, 17.
Right, but I didn't,
And it includes what his law clerk, what his associate attorney, what his paralegal charge per hour.
right.
That
but
information
I didn't see
is there.
how many hours were docked to that,
Okay. The,
like you did on Mr. Sanders.
I can divide the amount billed by the rate and calculate the hours if you would
See,
like
I don't know
that.
how many of those, of that figure in that top one is Mr. Levitt's and how much of it is the next level and the next level, because there's like 3 levels.
And
Okay, all right.
I-
Kelly, do you want to say, Ms. King, do you
I
want
did
to say
that.
anything?
I just also want to add, we're talking about Mr. Sanders, and we're also talking about Ms. Green, who's up here, and we're looking at 175 an hour, you know, so I consider Ms. Green and Judge Sanders very competent.
They
Yes, yes, so I think it's probably time for us to
Okay.
move on.
All right, so we're going to table.
You have to have a motion to table. You need
So
a
moved.
motion to table.
Second.
A motion by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. Stacy, to table the motion to accept the outside counsel of Mr. Levitt.
And then table this to the June, we need to table it to a date certain to the June 27th, and you have time in the work session in between. Table it to the June 27th board meeting.
Okay, table to the June 27th
Right.
board meeting.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
All
And that
those
was, I'm sorry, that was by Mr. James and
Yes, and
seconded by,
By Ms. Stacy. All
okay.
those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And-
May,
Come on. Okay, there we go.
oh, it didn't get it.
This takes a few minutes.
She's counting votes. She can count.
One. Keep hitting save, Edison, okay. Let me try this again.
Oh, it popped up. Nancy, you can vote.
Vote again.
Evidently, we've gone offline again. It's- Here we go. There, finally.
Motion passed unanimously, 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the outside counsel agreement with Michael C. Saboni with Saboni and Buchanan, PLLC? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to do that.
Second.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Mrs. King. And Mrs. King, you also withdrew this item, so will you begin our discussion?
I did. I'm just going to begin it as I began the last discussion. We had a work session last Thursday. The school board had some questions. We did not have a work session since then to discuss it and, see if there was any other further questions if we wanted to vote on it. What was significant on this is that we're looking at this attorney fees would be $285 an hour. $275 an hour. So again, I would like to see us have further discussion about this. Do you guys want to table it or discuss it?
I prefer tabling it because I want it to go back.
Yes.
May I
Okay,
speak to the motion before you do that?
Sure, Dr. Hammond.
This is a slightly different situation, because here we're talking about a handoff between two attorneys on active cases. So there is a bit more urgency associated with this outside counsel agreement. Additionally, during the board work session, we had a great discussion about comparative legal costs, and I know that's one of the concerns that you're expressing here this evening. Understand there's a big difference between what you pay an in-house counsel and what you pay on an outside contract. For example, the $275 per hour that we're talking about for Mr. Saboni, subsumed within that is his cost of operation, his rent, his utilities, his internet access, phone service, his subscription to LexisNexis or Westlaw, which for the board attorney costs $7,795 a year just to subscribe for that. The legal services office for the school board costs about $252,000 a year in salaries and benefits, plus that subscription to the law materials, plus all of the infrastructure support, the computers, the consumables, the utilities that they consume. So it's not apples to apples when you compare that to an hourly rate for an outside counsel who is absorbing many of those costs within that number. Because Mr. Lake was a salaried employee, we didn't have detail on billable hours. But for the last month and an extra week, you've had Ms. Green as your interim attorney, and we're looking at about 62 billable hours for a month. If I multiplied that by 12 months, and May is a fairly typical month for legal activities, if I multiplied that by 12 months and by the $275 an hour that we're talking about as being proposed for Mr. Saboni, it comes to $204,500 a year. By comparison, we're probably going to spend $45,000 to $60,000 in a year for the services billed by hour. And there's a deterrent effect here as well. And that is, we want a strong attorney who has a great reputation in the community, and Mrs. McCall's familiar with that, who knows Marion County, and who can be convincing for you, the board, as we bring our cases to you. And I think early success breeds success. And when we talk about perhaps having fewer cases down the line, what I do know is that if we're not effective in providing counsel for the superintendent, then we have a problem.
Okay, Ms. Stacy?
You're talking about, and thank you for making the point that the school board's attorney, our office is this much. We have 5 people contacting the school board attorney. When we had an outside counsel with Ms. Morris, I never called because I knew that clock was ticking. And on an inside counsel, I call over there a lot, and I'm sure the other board members call a lot more than they called when we were paying for outside counsel. But we've got 5 people calling, so if we had outside counsel now with 5 of us calling, you can't compare it to the superintendent calling, as far as trying to say the superintendent's attorney should be as much as the school board's attorney, because I just don't agree with that, because there's 5 people she's representing, 5 of us instead of 1 elected superintendent. So that, that all the contracts and everything, the whole district's being handled, not more or less, student expulsions and employee issues and that type of thing that normally the superintendent's attorney would be handling. And so I'm still for tabling this. I believe we just need to talk some more about it. I'd like to know where this attorney, give me some expertise. I mean, tell me a little bit about him whenever we go to our workshop on this, and explain to me why.
I can have that to you in 30 minutes.
Mr. James?
My concern, once again, is that we're talking about the superintendent's attorney. We have no control over who the superintendent hires. But by the same token, I know that do we still have our the attorney superintendent? We still have him for 60 days. Am I correct? How much longer we have?
July 18th.
So we got enough time to do something here and find out who we're dealing with. Doc, the biggest problem I got with this thing is that the board really don't have any control on who you select, but we do have some control on how we pay them and what we pay them. Mm-hmm. And what I want to do before we do this is take some time and just look at what we're doing. And I'm just like Ms. Stacy has brought up some good points. And Ms. Stacy, we're agreeing on 2 things tonight. It's going to snow out there.
No, the sky's gonna fall. Hold your head.
And I just think we need to table this thing and let's bring this thing back and let's look at it. I'm not gonna say she's not gonna get what she wants, but I do want to make sure we look at it.
We gotta feel good about this. If we're out in the community, if I vote for this, I gotta feel good about it. I feel like I'm doing the right thing.
All right, so I believe we have a motion to table, correct?
Okay.
I think.
Wait, and I second it.
Yes, I think Mr. James made the motion. And Ms. Stacy seconded before Dr. Ham.
Yes.
Okay. Are we ready to vote?
No, not yet. Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0, and both of these will be tabled to the June 27th meeting, at which time we will need to make a decision. Ms. King?
Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize Superintendent Mayor.
I request the chair declare a good cause to discuss an emergency item regarding special legislative action.
I declare good cause.
Per discussion at the June 8th, 2017 administrative briefing and work session, I am requesting a letter be sent to the governor urging him to veto House Bill 7069 and be signed by the board members as well as myself. I recommend a motion to be made to approve sending the letter submitted to Governor Scott and signed by board members and the superintendent.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation? Moved by Ms. Boynton, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? Ms. Stacy?
I have discussion. I do support the governor signing this. I believe it will be signed Thursday. The reason I do support this is because I've been up there many, many times working hard on the testing reform. I have watched our elementary teachers just have a fit because computers, that blocking the library, shutting the library down because kids had to be tested. They were testing in every hole in the school, and they had to start testing so early because testing caused so many issues that we had to start early just to get it all in. And I believe that our district will be more successful if we do test at the end of the year and that our elementary students do have an option of paper and pencil. Also, I do believe that all students, if the district is not ready, even at the middle school, to be able to use a paper pencil option, and be able to apply for that option if we are not computer ready. And I do not believe in talking to teachers that we are computer ready to do this testing without displacing different people. And because of that one issue on testing, I believe that our test scores in our district will improve if we improve our testing model. And it's all about the students to me. All the other stuff, I really, tonight, that's not my concern. I support 7069. I will not sign any. I do believe the governor will sign it Thursday, and I very possibly will be at the signing.
Ms. McCall.
Mrs. Stacy, I cannot support how this bill was put together. It was put together in a rush with no forethought of how to, of sending it to committee. It just was, it's a nightmare bill. Are there some good things in there? Absolutely. The 278 pages thrown at the last hurrah before session ended, that is unacceptable as a citizen. That is not how our legislation should work. And I cannot support this bill at all. Can I support things that are in it? Yes, ma'am, but not the way it was done, nor everything in it. I just think it's a sham, and it sends a very poor message on how it was put together. I cannot support this bill.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I had already sent a letter to the governor because there are so many, I mean, there's some great things that we need for our children, you know, but this, as they put all those, came to it, everything was bringing on to it, and other things, I said, and I sent that letter to him that he needed to look at it and himself, read what it is saying. Is it for the good of our students, or who? And so I'm going to thank you for bringing this in, and I'm going to go with this letter to the governor. Thank you.
Yes, you are welcome. I support this bill also.
Don't support it.
I do not support that bill. Correct me, that's right. You and I are not going to agree tonight. No, I'm just kidding. But I do not support this bill, although there are portions in there that I do agree with and I do like. But there are some very dangerous and scary things for our educational system and for our students. Again, as Mr. Altabello said earlier, this began as a 6-page bill, and it is 278 pages now. It concerns me that hasn't been presented, that there's portions in this bill that could just be voted up or down. It's a conforming bill where it has to be all or nothing. And when you're looking after these students, but also taxpayer dollars, you know, I am for school choice. I think students and parents should have a choice where they're going to go. But in this bill, it has a place in there about charter schools where they will be taking our taxpayer dollars, and our dollars will be going toward the charter schools. What is a concern is that or for-profit entities could be purchasing these charter schools, take public money away from our schools, and then down the road, they could sell this property. And the school system, you know, they'll never see that money, but the businessman can see it. And there's some charter school movements out there that, you know, we should pay attention and truly understand what is going on. So I fully support that. I think we're gonna move on. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those that oppose, like sign. Nay. And the motion passed 4-1. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $33,300? $5,000 to Bellevue High School from Bellevue High School softball booster, $1,000 to Denellen Middle School from Howard Glick, $2,500 to Hammett L. Bowen Jr. Elementary School from Hammett Bowen PTO, $1,500 to Hammett L. Bowen Jr. Elementary School from Mojo Grill 200 LLC. Yamaha digital piano valued at $1,000 to Madison Street Academy from Miss Leslie Hamas. $5,000 to MCPS Public Relations Student Media Festival from the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $2,500 to MCS Public Relations Student Media Festival from Cox Communications. $1,000 to MCPS School Social Work Services Department from Judy Ranthman. $2,500 to Marion Technical Institute from their business partner, CenturyLink, via Public Education Foundation. $5,000 to Marion Technical Institute from the Public Education Foundation, 4 digital pianos and benches, as well as musical staff whiteboard valued at $4,800 to Vanguard High School from Leslie Hamas. $1,500 to Wyomina Park Elementary School from their business partner, Florida Express Environmental, via the Public Education Foundation. Have a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. McCall. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, and those that oppose, like sign. After this goes through, you want to thank them? And the motion passed 5-0. Oh, Ms. McCall. I'm ahead of myself.
Thank you to all of you who support our schools financially and also with your time. We are a better school system because of what you do for us, and we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts that you consider our students as one of your top priorities. Thank you.
The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, June 22nd, 2017 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss Kingdom of the Sun Band concert, student portfolios, and the 5-year work plan draft, as well as receive updates on construction projects and school planning. A majority of the board members will be attending the Florida School Boards Association Conference in Tampa, June 14th through 16th. And we're going to move along to our board concerns. And Ms. Stacy, we will begin with you.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about 2 little things. Something this morning, actually, I was thinking of Mr. Vianello. If I could've gotten him on the phone and told him to turn on the news and watch what I was watching, the president's staff, they were talking about one of the biggest movements that's about to happen in education is the drive towards vocational education. And they were talking about Governor Walker actually was speaking of Wisconsin and said that his state, just on one website, has 96,000 posted jobs. He said, we do not have skilled workers to cover those jobs. So I was so proud to be in Marion County, and I was sitting here thinking, thank you, Dr. Muir. Thank you, Dr. Grantham. Thank you all, because we have a tremendous push on vocational education. We have the right person doing it. And I was thinking, I was watching on Fox News, can we get Mark Vianello on the curvy couch to talk about our wonderful program that's happening in Marion County? So I was so proud to be sitting there watching it going, we're already doing it. And so even without the president telling us to do it, we're already doing it. So I was excited that money looks like it's gonna be really coming down from the federal government in a really, really hard push for vocational programs. I think that is about to really explode at the federal level for students who are just not college bound. That they just do students who, that they were all very, very excited about it. And another thing that I was excited about, historically, I'm the first person probably, because I stay up all night. So when the state releases test scores or anything happens, and I know it's just happened, I mean, I have flags. Like, all these places where they flag district rankings and everything, I'm flagged. The minute it happens, boom, it's on my phone, and I'm over there. We have moved up a district ranking. And what is impressive about the test scores that came out, and I have studied every single grade level, I have studied and I have looked back 5 years and looked forward. This was not a fluke. We did not have a fluke of a test score improvement. This was not just a, like, accidental thing. And the fact that this administration has only been in place since basically after New Year's. And testing, when did we start it? Into March or something, you know? So you're looking at like 3 months after you got back from New Year's and everything, 3 months that this administration started hammering some of these changes in place, moving and shifting principles around and moving people around and combining departments and sending people out. I called a couple of my friends, I called a couple of school board member friends of mine in other areas, and I was in tears. I was like, you're not gonna believe it. We really have improved. The first time since I've been on the school board, instead of being in the red, we were going this way. And on the schooldigger.com, we were going in the green, up a notch, instead of down another notch in red. So I want to thank this administration. I have had a very exciting week. I almost have the test scores memorized. I have them memorized. And this is not a fluke, Marion County. We are on the move to great improvement everywhere in this district. Thank you. And I thank this administration.
Okay.
Mr. James,
I'm gonna pass.
Ms. Boynton, Ms. Nicole.
My only thing is, on the work session, it's a full agenda, but we must talk about these attorney's fees. We have to somehow put that on there. So, we need to add that, Mrs. Lockketter. So, bring your lunch.
Okay, Madam Chair, is there something that we can take off to a later date to make sure we get these attorneys things on?
I'll look at it. I'll make this a priority and we'll see. And then I'll have Brenda email the agenda when we figure something out. Okay? I'm just going to say that on Sunday, I had the opportunity. Oop, I'm ahead of myself. Ms. McGreen, do you have anything? Ms. Blackketter? Okay, thank you. Dr. Mayor?
Of course.
Oh.
I'll leave Sunday for you. I was going to mention that, but I'll let you cover that when we were at Flag Day. I want to say thank you to Officer Wissinger from Ocala Police Department, who sat in with us this evening. I told you it would be an enjoyable evening. I hope you enjoyed it as well. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And you're also one of our SROs, aren't you? Yeah, so you're at Fort King Middle, correct? So thank you for that, for every day taking care of our kids. We appreciate it very much. I had written down Flag Day, but I'll let you talk about that because it was awesome, wasn't it? It was a happy day. And I just want to say to the 5 of you, thank you. Tonight we didn't agree, but what respectful dialogue we had. And it made me proud to work with you. It really did, that we could disagree, but yet stay civil and still have respect. And then to come around, and even though Mrs. Stacy, you had the disagreement and the concerns about a previous matter, you were right there with thanking Mr. Vianello and supporting us with the changes we did in curriculum. So thank you all for that. And you really did all make me proud. And it's my job to convince you to vote my way. And so we're going to do that. So that's my job, and I appreciate that. And again, you made me proud to work with you, and I thank you. The book for tonight is The Min Pins, and it's by Roald Dahl, and he's the one who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah, so it's a short read and lots of pictures too, very entertaining. And it's more one of those books that while it's written for students, it's an adult book. Adults will get something out of it too. And it's a self-discovery book. And something very special in this book that I wanted to share is how the concluding quote, where it says, "Above all, watch with glittering eyes the whole world around you, because the greatest secrets are always hidden in the most unlikely places. Those who don't believe in magic will never find it." And I just want to say to all of our teachers and all of our students that the magic is found within you. It's not found within computer programs or boxes of stuff that is bought for you, but it's found in here. So I thank our teachers every day for sharing that passion with our students, and thank you, students, for everything that you do to embrace your learning. So thank you, Mrs. King.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Mayer, I just want to say that it's a pleasure working with you, and it's just part of being a board and superintendent, and you said that even we didn't agree and vote with you. I wouldn't go as far as to even say that yet. I think this is a board that just needs information, and we just want to make sure that we're doing right,
And I
to
appreciate
our
that. Thank you.
constituents. So
And thanks for the discussion.
Thank you. And I also want to thank you for last week when I called you up about the House Bill 7069. And I was like, I know it's last minute, and when we discussed our thoughts and asked you to help me with it, and you directed me to Mr. Christian, who did a wonderful job drafting that last week. And even as early as this morning, when I'm like, Kevin, please add this and take away that, and he just drafted something wonderful. So thank you, Mr. Christian. Also on Sunday, we attended Flag Day at the Veterans Memorial Center in our park. And it was a wonderful day. What started off with 60 students had received awards from our veterans. And not all showed, but the students that did show read what the flag meant to them. So they would discuss the meaning. Some of them would discuss what the colors meant, or the folds of the flag meant, or different things like that. But I also want to add that 500 students had submitted essays. Wow. So I told Ms. McGuire next year we need to have 1,000 or something. But Ms. McGuire's worked very hard with our veterans also, and it's really wonderful to see our veterans and our school systems team together to show the importance of our country. And we're starting them at a young age. And earlier today, when Mr. McIntyre, I believe, was up there, and they were talking about, the American core principles and patriotism, and we're seeing that, and that's wonderful. And I have one more thing. Last week, I think most of us received the paw print from Ms. Trulip's class. And I read a poem in here, and I thought I would share it with you. And it is, "Who are you? Tomorrow is the hope for a new day. We use that hope to strengthen who we are, but who are we? This question has no definite answer. We can talk about what we like, what we eat, what we do. What truly defines a person? I ask myself this for tomorrow. I believe we are the character of our soul. This soul, like any and all, has good and bad, what goes beyond truth and lies. The quality of our heart guides us on our path, but our minds drive us and steer. My path isn't always clear, and I forget who I am, but I know who I am. So who are you?" And that was by Giovanni Polgarin. So if you ever get some time, I just think this is some awesome work from our wonderful teachers, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So,
Ms. King,
yes, sir. Oh,
recognize Dr. Grantham.
yes, Dr. Grantham would like to introduce some.
Yes, we do have several new faces and veteran, we're called seasoned faces, but I introduced most of you to these ladies earlier. Ms. Gerlach, Ms. Holly Gerlach's been here for a while. She is our elementary director, but behind Ms. Gerlach, we have Ms. Shana Horn. She is our director for professional development. Come on up, Shana, so everyone can see you, so wave to everyone. Shana's been here 3 weeks.
Yes.
And our PD is taking off, and what's great about Shana, she's listening to our audience and really guiding PD based off her needs. And our other new director is Dr. Shannon Butler. She is our director for federal programs, and she started 2 weeks ago, last Monday, and she's already meeting with principals and going over their budgets and making some changes and making sure, giving the principals a lot more choice and buy-in and conversation. So we welcome you both to Marion County.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
They are beautiful.
models now.
Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students through May 26, 2017. Ms. Falkheader, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter? Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 17-27 with educational services through the first semester of the 2017-2018 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none.
We'll put her down as not present at vote.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of students JD 17-115, JD 17-116, JD 17-117, JD 17-119, JD 17-121, JD 17-122, JD 17-1123E, JD 17-125, JD 17-126, JD 17-127, and JD 17-128 with educational services through the entire 2017-2018 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Mr. J, okay, there they
And the motion passed 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 17-118 without educational services through the entire 2017-2018 school year?
So moved.
So, second.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And the motion passed 5-0. Being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. McCall. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion passed 5-0. The meeting is adjourned at 7:33 PM.